Welcome to Coffee to Go, where we center ourselves in the scriptures, seasons, and holy days of the Christian tradition. I'm Karin Peter, here with Blake Smith, and we welcome you on the journey. We are in Ordinary Time, the season after Pentecost, which is a series of weeks that are numbered or ordered, which is where ordinary comes from. It's a pretty long stretch of weeks, 25 or so. And we're in the latter part of that here in September as we move into the time of harvest festivals in the Northern Hemisphere and the planting season in the Southern Hemisphere. And it's in this period of time, this ordered period of time after Pentecost, where we experience the church being sent. And that's where disciples go out and live the ministry and message of Jesus. So our question each week is, where are we with Jesus this week? And this week we're with Jesus and some disciples who are pumped up. And it doesn't really tell us kind of why, but I want you to think about a group of men who are often like competing with one another and excited about what they're doing and wanting to get more and more involved in ministry. And that's kind of the tone at which we enter this conversation. So, Blake?
Yeah, our passage comes today from the Gospel of Luke. It's the 17th chapter and the 5th through the 10th verse. And I like that, Karin, that you were talking about them being pumped up. That kind of gives a different feel for the way you hear this. So as I'm going to read it, I'm going to think about it through that lens.
Are you going to do your Arnold Schwarzenegger pump you up imitation?
Pump you up. So let's see I'm going to see how it sounds as I read it this with that thought in mind.
All right.
The apostle said to the Lord, "Increase our faith." The Lord replied, "If you had faith the size of a mustard seed, you could say to this mulberry tree, 'Be uprooted and planted in the sea,' and it would obey you. Who among you would say to your slave who has just come in from plowing or tending sheep in the field, 'Come here at once and take your place at the table'? Would you not rather say to him, 'Prepare supper for me, put on your apron and serve me while I eat and drink. Later you may eat and drink'? Do you thank the slave for doing what was commanded? So you also, when you have done all that you were ordered to do, say, 'We are worthless slaves. We have done only what we ought to have done.'" This is an interesting passage because for me, it's just two very distinct parts. It's like, okay, what happened here?
Yeah.
We're talking about first about faith, and then it's about a slave and serving and all of that. So it's kind of an interesting passage. I think the important thing right there at the beginning, and I like that idea of them coming up, that they're just energized. You know, they're on the way to Jerusalem. They still don't get what's really going to happen, and they're seeing all these things. They're seeing these people gather around Jesus because the things that he's doing, and they're like, "Increase our faith." They're giving him an imperative, really. I mean, it's it's really what I caught when I first read it was what we deal with so much in our lives every day in this culture, and that's this need for immediate gratification. Like, we're ready. I mean, we don't want to wait anymore. Just give us what we need. So that's kind of what I hear going on in their head. And Jesus, in his way, responded, rather than just saying, "You are enough," I really feel like that's kind of his message back to them, that, you know what, you already have what you need to do this. And it only takes just this smallest amount of faith to be able to do significant or huge things. And so with the faith that you have, imagine what you can do. I don't know that I really knew. I have pulled out shrubs before, and I know that root systems can be really difficult. And I understand that a mulberry tree is one of those, that to just say, get up and move and throw it into the sea is actually a pretty significant feat. But under all of that is this message for me that you have everything you need. Quit making excuses. Quit trying to vie for a place at the table. Just
Yeah.
Just have faith in yourselves and go and do this. And I know that I hear that time and again, and I've even been part of it in local congregations where we just go, oh, we can't do this. We don't have this. We don't have that, instead of focusing on the things that we do have and the things that we are able to do.
You're so pastoral on this, Blake, when you talk about, oh, I think this is Jesus.
Oh, you know me, Karin. That's why we do this
you
together.
Are.
We need balance.
Jesus is saying this. I'm hearing this through the lens of Moonstruck with Cher when she slaps Nicolas Cage and says, forget about it. It's this whole idea of they're pumped up, increase our faith. We want to do more, bigger, better, faster. Come on. And then Jesus is like, what? Slap, slap. If you had faith the size of a mustard seed, you could do blah, blah, blah. It was more of this reactive Jesus that I hear in my head. Jesus isn't quite as pastoral in my head as Jesus is apparently in yours, Blake.
Well, I try to think about, okay, how would I respond? Yeah, you're probably more accurate there, but that's why, again, that is why we do this, and this is why this is so much fun to do together, because we kind of come at it from a different standpoint. So
we get some different voices going on here. Yeah.
Well, when we get to the second part of the passage where, Jesus is asking the disciples, how would you treat a slave? Now, let me first acknowledge that any conversation about slavery is uncomfortable for a lot of people. It's uncomfortable for me, I know. I just want to say up front that this passage, which has been used to justify slavery, that is not what this is about. This is talking in a context that the disciples would understand, because slavery was common. People as property was common in that time frame, and so they would understand how would someone who had servants, and we use that servant, that's my more pastoral term, I guess. Servants, they are expected to do their job. They're not expected to get praise. They're not expected to have a place at the table. You do what you do, and the very fact that you get to do it ought to be enough. Yeah. And so Jesus is saying, this part of being a disciple is serving. And actually, one commentary, Nancy Westfield, says that the reward for ministry well done is the opportunity to do more work. Which it's like, okay, well then I'm not. Then my immediate response is, okay, if I don't do it right, will I get fired? Can I get a break? But we've talked many times here at Coffee to Go that discipleship is difficult. It is work. It is a lot of work, and so we should just. I don't know. Even as I say it, it sounds like, this is used in so many bad contexts, but we should just be happy to be able to have received God's grace and mercy and be able to serve and give that to other people as well.
Yeah, I think that's the whole idea of acknowledging that we made a commitment. If you made a commitment, then do what you committed to do. Yeah. And you've already got what you need to do it, which I think is kind of the core piece here. Is we've already received what we need to do it. We don't need more faith or more whatever. We don't need accolades and acclaim. We just need to do what we said we do.
Yeah. So overall, there's one other piece that I want to pick up, because I think we're going to deal with it pretty soon in one of the next couple of weeks here at Coffee to Go, and that's the idea of prayer. And I think this passage calls us, rather than to pray for more faith or ask for more faith, if we're going to use our prayers, we ought to pray that we might become more aware of what we already have. Yeah. The faith that we have, even if it's dormant faith, but the gifts, the talents, the resources that are inherent not only in us individually, but in us corporately as we gather in community. So,
good point.
So some questions we might ask ourselves this week with this passage that's kind of goes all over the place is, do I have faith? And in what do I have faith?
Yeah, that's a really broad question. You can go a lot of places with that. But I think for me today, it's, do I have faith enough to follow? if I want to talk about the ministry and message of Jesus, where is Jesus this week? And we keep traipsing along with Jesus. Do I have the faith to continue to do that and to walk in those footsteps?
That's a great way to frame it.
That's how I'm looking at it today.
All right. Well, let me give you another one. How do I feel about humility and service, which is in that second part of the passage? Is that how I view disciples and discipleship? I think sometimes in Christianity, because we get a little bit of self-righteousness going on, that we might.
You've been reading ahead.
Yeah, that's coming up. Yeah. I'm trying to read the whole context of Luke because we're going to be in Luke for several weeks. But so there's just, this some sense of privilege because we are, not to give away all the future episodes, but this chosen and we've got it right and we're walking with God. So, but that really just means more humility and more service,
right?
Not more power and prestige,
right?
The last question I would offer up this week would be: do I expect a reward or acknowledgement when I do something for others? When I act in a way of discipleship or help someone or contribute financially, whatever it is, do I expect a reward or acknowledgement?
Boy, that hits home a little bit with the kinds of things that we do.
Yep.
So I'm going to go back to the beginning where we talk about faith and this little tiny amount of faith and what does that look like? Even if that faith is so dormant that I think I don't have it anymore, what's buried down in there? So I think for this week, find a little dish and find the tiniest seed you can. Whether it's out of some kind of fruit or vegetable in your fridge, or if you have to actually go to the store and buy a seed, or goodness, there's got to be sesame seeds or poppy seeds in your cabinet. Grab a tiny little seed and put it in the dish. And then every day this week, look at that and tell yourself, in the peaceable kingdom, my faith today is enough. And that'll just be our kind of reminder each morning. When we see that little seed in a dish, in the peaceable kingdom, my faith today is enough. And we'll see how that goes during the week.
All right. Well, our blessing is from Elizabeth Harding in Blessing It All, and it's called Becoming Always. I think it's very fitting given the example of how to live it out this week that you've given us, Karin. So here it goes. Becoming always. First, a seed burrows deep underground. Sun shines. Air moves here and there and everywhere. The seed grows. Roots begin twining their paths, finding connections among their fellows. The trunk emerges. The tree begins to seek water, air, and sunlight. Connection among the other trees and the earth. Reaching out. Standing strong, growing, reminding us all the ways we are connected to each other. Growth allows us to deepen and expand those connections as leaves sprout, flowers grow, and fruit may flourish. Let us plant this tree so that we may join together, remembering our loved ones, moving onward while holding all that went before us close, becoming always. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us here today at Coffee to Go. Karin and I invite you to join us next time for the next part of our journey through the liturgical seasons and holy days of the Christian tradition.